Welcome to the Energetically You podcast, where we will be talking about healthy habits, abundant mindset, and optimal wellness. I'm your host, Megan Swan, creator of the Sustainable Integrated Wellness Approach. At 30, I sold everything and went on my own eat, pray, love journey, if you will. And now, at 41, I'm still on my first stop here in Mexico, loving life and feeling more energy than ever before. This podcast is for ambitious women who are looking to level up their energy so that they feel happier and more productive throughout their day in all of their projects and passions. Inside, we are going to be talking about ways to truly tune in to our minds and bodies in new ways to leverage our natural energy sources. So let's dive in. I am here today to chat with Michelle Rose Kennedy. She is a Reiki master of Reiki masters. She combines these with the energy of sound, crystals, light energy, and affirmations to help others heal and love themselves. Her debut book, Hold Space, Affirmations and Meditations for Healing and Loving Yourself, is available now. She and her family consider themselves dual citizens of Brooklyn and Woodstock in New York, and Michelle has offices in Brooklyn, Manhattan, and Woodstock. So I can't wait to talk to Michelle Rose. Welcome, Michelle, or should I say Michelle Rose? What do you prefer?
Michelle is fine.
Just
yeah.
Michelle.
Hi. Thank you. Yes. Thank you for having me.
I'm so glad that we connected because I feel like we have many combined interests and many common threads. So let's dive in. Tell me about how you became, first let's start with Reiki, a Reiki master, and how far back does your passion for Reiki go?
So that's a great question. My passion for it happened way later than I first heard about it. So my first introduction to it was probably at a psychic fair in college, and I saw somebody doing chair Reiki and there was like ear candling and all kinds of stuff that I was like, oh no, just give me my reading. Reiki seemed too woo-woo for me at the time, but it kind of kept coming back in my life at different points and waiting for me to get ready. So I'll jump to when it was time. In yoga teacher training, I was pregnant with our first, and one of the people in teacher training said, I do Reiki. I'd love to gift you a session for like a shower gift. So I had it and I thought it was great. It was amazing. And she said, you know, you're a healer too. Your hands were on fire. And I said, okay, so what do I do with that? And she said, well, I can't teach you. I'm not a Reiki master yet. So I just put it in my pocket and forgot about it. And then when I was pregnant with our second, a couple of years later, my husband was diagnosed with Hodgkin's, and our yoga teacher said, I have a Reiki master for you to go to. And he went, and it helped so much. I mean, the tumor was shrinking. He wasn't getting the side effects that most people would get. And I said to her, you have to teach me. And I hounded her until she finally had a class. And that was it for me. Like I knew it was definitely part of the picture at the time. I was already a yoga teacher, but it fit so well with body work and energy work. Yeah,
honestly, it's kind of like on my radar. One of those things that has ebbed and flowed as well. Not sure if I'll get there, but the moment hasn't presented itself yet. But I am curious for that reason to ask you, what does that look like when you find, like, is it similar to yoga that you basically have to have, you know, some kind of chemistry with a particular teacher that you really feel like, well, first, do all Reiki masters teach? Is that why they're called masters, or what is the process? And is it a time frame, or is it until they say you're ready? What does that look like?
I think every Reiki master has a different approach to the teaching, but traditionally there are 3 levels. So there's level 1, which is generally for self-healing. You are attuned to the energy and attune to the first symbol, but you don't actually see the first symbol until level 2. Level 1 is all about learning the hand positions, the tradition, the background, and learning how to work on yourself. Then level 2 can come as soon as a month later. Some teachers want you to wait a few months, but traditionally it's at least 21 days. And level 2, you get the symbols, you see the symbols, you learn how to work with the symbols, and also how to do remote sessions or distance Reiki. And then if you choose, you can be a practitioner at that level. Most people go on to become a master if they want to practice professionally. And you may or may not become a teacher at master level, but you do need the master training in order to attune others.
And so my curiosity then goes to, given that everything is so virtual these days, can you do all those things virtually, or do you need to physically have the first 3 steps in presence with someone?
So it was originally that you had to be in person. In fact, way before the pandemic, probably about 5, 6 years ago, I had a client from the deep south, and she said, I'm in a very rural area. I have nobody around me that does Reiki. I want to learn it. I had an epiphany. I think this is what I'm supposed to do. So I said, let's do a remote session first, see if we vibe. And if we do, I will consult my Reiki master and my guides and see if this is a good thing to do. My Reiki master said, I'm not a fan of distance attunements, but you have to do what's right for you. And so I consulted with my guides and I said, okay, here's how we're going to do it. We're going to do it live at the time, there was no Zoom even. It was Skype. So we did a Skype attunement and it worked great. And she was practicing on herself and she was healing and leveling up and, advancing and awakening. And it was fantastic. I know now that was my practice to be ready for this pandemic, because I had several classes lined up for 2020 and then the pandemic hit and so many people were scrambling and I was like, I got this.
I've done this before.
Yeah. So it can be done, but there are some people out there who just have videos that you pay them a minuscule amount of money, like $10, $20, $50, and you'll be attuned. But just watching a video is really not enough. It has to be live with the Reiki master.
Yeah, no, I would think definitely I would want to. Honestly, I think I would in my ideal scenario is to do at least some part of it in person. But anyway, enough about me and my potential. Let's shift into the Akashic readings and that whole world. When did that come across in your sphere of influence? And tell us all about it, because I'm very new.
So Akashic Records, I thought that every single Reiki master could do it because it was on the moment I was attuned. In fact, it was probably present before. I just didn't know what it was, and I didn't know that it existed. It was just part of me. It's something I did. So I can tell you, I remember very specifically in my 20s that I had an experience. Someone was telling me about a past life regression she did. And as she was saying it, I was seeing the whole thing happen. And then I described it. Did you look like this? Were you wearing a bow? Was it this kind of staircase? And she said, oh my God, how do you know all that? And I said, I don't know. But again, put it in my pocket and didn't think about it. And every session that I had with people, I would see things of their past, of sometimes past lives, sometimes their past childhood events, traumas, things like that. And I just truly thought everybody did. What happened was there was a session that I had with someone who was a starseed, and I had never seen that before. And starseed, for those who don't know, is that your soul originated on another planet or star system. So extraterrestrial, alien, however you like to describe it. So I called my Reiki master and said I had this experience, and I told her, and she said, that's the Akashic Records, Michelle. And I was like, okay. But so I had to go research because I had never heard it before and I didn't want to sound stupid to her. So I went and looked up Akashic Records and said, okay. And then I got on all these Reddit message boards, Facebook message boards. Who else does Akashic Records with Reiki? And I found one. I found one person and we hit it off. She's in the UK, I'm here. And she had a similar experience that she just awakened to realize this was something special. And the way energy works, once you acknowledge something and accept it with love, it expands. And suddenly I was getting more and more info, past lives, more star seeds coming in for sessions. And it's just incredible. I mean, there are people who have come to me that have had past life regressions and they know about the lives. Like I'll say, okay, so you had this war lifetime, and they're like, yeah, I know about that one. Like, okay, do you know how you died? No. Okay. So then I give them more details and flesh it out. But it's a great validation to me to know that they know something already because we're just fleshing it out. And you really can't make this stuff up. It's different for everyone.
So is it something, I just want to understand as much as I can. Is it something that you were intuitively doing in your Reiki sessions before you really understood what it was? That's how I heard what you just said.
Yes. So we have one of the symbol that is used to connect to, they call it the ether tube, which connects you to, let's say if you're here and I'm there, I can use that symbol to connect to your energy field with Reiki. So that symbol combined with the pure nature of Reiki itself helped me connect to the Akashic Records. I also believe that part of it, because I was never formally trained in Akashic Records, I have come to believe that one of my guides is a keeper of the Akashic Records, and that's why it came so naturally to me.
And so would you say it's an Akashic Record reading for my?
Yes.
Okay. And so there are people now that come to you for just that, or is there always Reiki involved?
As of right now, and this is what I always tell people, Reiki always came first for me. It's when I'm channeling Reiki that it's like that gets plugged in. I go up because it's always coming from up. I have flashes of things come in when I'm just talking to somebody, but I haven't separated that out as a session. The way I use the Akashic Records is kind of I use it as the gift that it is, that I help people heal their trauma or their karma that came with them from a past life. So if we carry around a lot of burdens, or we have a particular belief system that we don't know where it came from, or a fear, that it could be past life. So once I start and connect with Reiki and their energy field, it just zips me back to that time of the source.
Yeah. Okay. So could you just define Akashic Records for people that have no idea what we're talking about?
Yes. So Akashic Records, it is believed that each and every one of us has a book in a library somewhere in heaven or space out there somewhere. And it's a book of every single one of our lives, every life experience, every karmic debt, every soul contract in every lifetime, as well as potential futures. And it's all written in this book. So when I connect to the Akashic Records, I'm usually shown snippets, whether flashes of a scene of that life, or images from that lifetime, or I am clairaudiently being told things that a person needs to know. So Akashic Records exist somewhere in this library, again, heaven, space, somewhere out there, and there are keepers of the Akashic Records, or librarians, and they will only allow entry. So if you think of it like these little doors, they will only allow entry into very specific things that are relevant to our current lifetime now, or our current challenges now. So if we're going through a really challenging time in life, they'll be like, zip, zip, zip in the book and be like, here you go, Michelle, tell them about this. And then I can help, that helps them, because I can send healing energy, Reiki energy, to that time. And then at the end, I tell them, so this came up and this happened in your lifetime in Egypt or Italy or whenever, wherever. And it's kind of a beginning, like a new beginning that they have, that it no longer has to be carried along in this life.
Hmm. So it's like well, first of all, does everyone have past lives?
Oh, I would say everyone that is existing right now during these crazy times, yes. I believe yes. We may be newer souls that we only have one or two lifetimes as of right now, but I tend to believe that everyone living through this timeline, because of all the technological advances we're having, all of the climate events, all of this time in pandemic, that a new soul wouldn't be able to really navigate. So I think most of us, if not all, have had past lives.
It's so interesting. So tell us, what else is that sort of weaved into everything you do, or do you have other sort of zones of genius? Because I know you just released a book. Tell us about it.
So the book it's called Hold Space. Subtitle is Affirmations and Meditations for Healing and Loving Yourself. And it came out of basically, with working with Reiki and the Akashic Records, I end up attracting a lot of people who are dealing with PTSD or grief or really heavy anxiety or depression and things like that. And they tend to come more often, more frequently, more amount of times, because their trauma, their pain, everything is buried deep, and it may take a few sessions to, unearth all the levels. And people were saying to me, what can I do in between now and the next session? So I would write them affirmations. Sometimes the affirmations were channeled from their spirit guides, but often I would I would be the one to put it together in an affirmation form. Like the guides would tell me some tidbit of wisdom, and I'd be like, that could be made into an affirmation. So I put all these affirmations together and kind of had them aside. And once the pandemic happened, I felt very pushed that it was time to make this into a book. And I joined a class that helped me with accountability, because I need that. And I can't just do it on my own, because it's too many notes in my phone and not enough typing at the computer. And I finished it, and I was really excited. And then writing it was the easiest part, because then there was me editing and realizing what was missing or what needed to come out, and then sending it to an editor who said, hey, just like you did, can you explain what Akashic Records are to the rest of the gang who does not know? And realizing, oh yeah, like everybody's not in your head, Michelle. So I had to add a lot, take some stuff out, and then proofread. And I self-published, so I had to get an artist to do the cover. It was so many different things that have to be done to get this book out. So I by the time it got out, it's just under a year from start to finish. But it's exciting. I made it so it's not super woo-woo. There are mentions of Reiki and Akashic Records in it, but it's really for anyone. I have had people come to me that are in recovery, saying that it's helping them with their addiction, and they're sharing it with people in their programs. People with PTSD are using it and saying, I didn't even think of this technique or these words, and they hit me exactly where they needed to hit me, and perfect timing. So I really wrote it to be this kind of gift for people, even if you're in therapy, to be this extra tool, just like for my clients, like here's an affirmation in between sessions, as a tool to help you along in your own part and journey.
Amazing. Well, congratulations. I remember I wrote my first book. I say first because I have many books percolating in the back of my mind, potentially one more coming this year or within the next calendar year. But yeah, it's such an accomplishment. I mean, I just remember it's such a great feeling when it's done. So congratulations. Enjoy it. I also wanted you because we're both yogis, so it's one of always my favorite phrases, hold space, to hear that. Really in any meditative or yoga space. But can you kind of explain what you mean to that to people that maybe aren't so in the yoga world?
Thank you. Yes. In fact, we say that in the Reiki world too, and therapists say it in their world that Reiki is not me healing you or healing you or you or you. Reiki is me. Yes, I'm channeling energy through me to you and sending it to you. But really, we are holding a space to draw in this energy, and you take what you want and you leave what you don't. Same thing with a therapist. They may tell you something and you're not ready to hear it, so you leave it at the door. So holding space is just that I or you or anyone is there holding this space for your healing to happen in your own time. Just like when I said I came across Reiki a few times, it's almost like my guides were holding a space for me to just rediscover Reiki and be ready to bring it into my life. So the title actually came from my guides. It originally was going to be titled Manifest the F Out of Your Life. And my editor said, it's not, your book is not sassy enough. It's not nasty enough. It's not sarcastic. It's very nurturing and nice. And the title doesn't fit the book. So I had to go back to the drawing board. I had no idea what to make it. And I felt like everything was slowing up this process. So I do Reiki on myself regularly. I did Reiki on myself before I went to bed, and I'm going through all my things and asked my guides for guidance. And I fell asleep and I hear, hold space. And then I saw it like written in my dream, and I was like, I'll remember, hold space. And then they were like, wake up. And I woke up and I wrote it down. When I woke up, I knew that I was given something, but I'm glad I wrote it because I could not remember it. And then once I kept saying it over and over in my head, I was like, this is really perfect, because that is what healing is about. Even when we heal ourselves, right? If you think about it, when you get a cut, you go and you wash the wound, you put an ointment on it, you put a Band-Aid on it or a bandage, and you hold space for that healing until it heals. And that is the aspect, that is the full meaning of hold space.
I love that explanation and the backstory of that's how the name of my first child came to me. We were just like going back and forth. Then one night, just as I was falling asleep, it's as if someone whispered it to me, and I was just like, yeah, tomorrow I've got to investigate like what are all the possible meanings of that name. And anyway, it was perfect. Yeah. So one last question. You've mentioned a few times asking your guides. Can you explain to us what you mean when you say that? And I've heard in different interpretations of, do people have different numbers of guides? Like, how would you introduce someone to that concept?
So I think the perfect way of looking at it is, even if you're not comfortable with like the woo, and the book that you're reading introduces a lot of that. She loves to say the woo, right? The woo-woo aspect is that we all have these, etheric beings that are around us, and we are each and every one of us, not even assigned. We choose one spirit guide who's going to stick with us the whole life. And they stick with us through thick and thin, and every other guide that may come along the way, because we do have some that come along the way as we evolve spiritually, physically, mentally, emotionally. But there's always that one, and they are kind of like the guardian, and they have to approve everything that filters through. We can think of it as a higher aspect of ourselves, that we are a soul in a body, but part of our soul is somewhere out there in space and directing us, because they know everything. Because in our brain, we don't know everything, because we don't use all of our brain. We use very little. So there's this all-knowing, omniscient soul that guides us along. And we all have that inner voice. And we may not all hear it because not everybody is audio, not everybody is visual. We may have a feeling and we get the chills when things are, happening that we're like, "Ooh, I just got the chills," like as an affirmation that something is true. Or we get the creepy feeling of the hairs in the back of our neck that tell us something's not good. That is your spirit guide communicating with you. So we all have it. And a lot of people have an inner voice, that little voice that not the one,
Not the
not
ego.
the one that tells you exactly, not the ego one, the inner critic. That is not your spirit guide. That is the programming you got here from parents, teachers, and elders that gave you the wrong info. No, it's the one that's very loving. It's like the little kid self of you that loved the world and saw everything beautiful. The one that says, go write the book or you can do it, right? That's the inner voice. That's your spirit guide. And the more you acknowledge, like I said earlier, the more you acknowledge it and trust it, the more it comes through because you start seeing the signs and hearing or feeling the sensations that they're with you.
So how should people contact you or keep in touch, connect?
So I have, I am on Instagram is probably the most active social media place I'm at. Instagram, it's at My Reiki Healer. I have the same name for my website, myreikihealer.com, and it's REIKI, because I know it doesn't sound like the way it's spelled. What else? I am on Facebook, but less. I am on Clubhouse, and I do lots of little free groups, and we just kind of have these amazing rap sessions about things like spirit guides and star seeds. And I sometimes lead meditations there. Sometimes I do oracle card readings, and it's just very free form. But again, it's holding a space for whatever everybody needs with this kind of loose theme. And then the book, if anybody is interested in the book is Hold Space, Affirmations and Meditations for Healing and Loving Yourself. It is available on Amazon for ebook and paperback. And I think that is most of my contact info. And just to mention, we do have a yoga, background in common. I am more of a Reiki master now than a yogi, but everything yogi fit in and became part of this beautiful, thing that I do with the meditations that are in the book. All of that could not have happened without my Reiki, my yoga background.
Definitely. So do you teach Reiki people to be Reiki masters now, or are you still?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So I mean, we're all virtual right now still, but I believe that sometime in 2021 I will be teaching those classes in person, and I think I will keep up virtual because I've had students all over the world at this point. So that's kind of cool, and I want to keep that option open to people.
Yes, definitely. And I think it's such an interesting, probably way of thinking about Clubhouse is holding space, like that's what those rooms are. And that's kind of what's special about it. It's one of those things that I will get back to doing consistently because I've had I've been fly on the wall in some amazing conversations, but also participated in some. And so let's connect I'll come hang out and get an oracle card reading. That'd be cool.
Cool. Yeah.
Well, we'll be in touch, and thank you so much for sharing your energy, your time with us this evening. And I'm so excited to hear more about your journey in the future.
Thank you. Thank you, Megan. Namaste.
Namaste. Quickly, just as kind of like a PS for the podcast, if you will, because we started talking after I hit pause in the recording. And I think it's so important that we include this because other than time, so tell us what happened with your husband. What's the end of that story?
So he is great. He had Reiki throughout his treatments. Can I just say that, and Reiki can't promise this, but Reiki alone was already starting to shrink his tumor, which was incredible before he even started chemo. But his Reiki master said, you have to do both. So he did. He got done with chemo. He is almost 16 years free and clear now. So he's great.
Wow. Okay. That is so amazing to hear. And I wanted to share that with everyone. So thank you for letting us record that little PS to the podcast. And yeah, I'm totally signing up for a session, Michelle. So we'll be in touch.
Thank you so much, Megan.
Thank you so much for listening to Energetically You. I hope that this episode has helped you to tune into your natural energy sources so that you feel more energized and focused throughout your day. If you enjoyed the episode, please take a second to rate and review. Each review helps us to help more ambitious women just like you accomplish their goals. Don't forget to take a screenshot, share it on social or in your Instagram stories, and tag me at Megan Swan Wellness. See you soon.